David Noton is a renowned travel and landscape photographer who has been taking pictures professionally for more than 30 years. Bitten by the travel bug when he was in the Merchant Navy, he has photographed in around 100 different countries and has returned to many of them on numerous occasions. He has a particular love for Canada, having spent part of his childhood there. His philosophy is to inspire and inform, and he shares his love of photography with subscribers to his F11 photography magazine. And nowadays, a great deal of his work is created specifically for this. I visited him near his home in Dorset to talk about 3 of his images. Hi David, it's good to see you. Looking forward to talking about some of your pictures today.
So am I.
So we're going to start off with this one from Namibia, which I think is important to you for several reasons, if you'd like to tell us a bit about it.
Well, this is an image from quite a few years back, in fact, almost 20 years ago, really. Since this was shot in the late 90s, the whole world has changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In the world of photography and otherwise. And yet I feel very strongly that the elements that make pictures work, what makes this picture work, for example, is exactly the same, despite the fact that the technology I used is completely different. We'd spent about a week here in the Namib Desert and camping on the fringes of the national park and investigating it. I found this location after a few days and then went back to be there, you know, first thing in the morning. So we got there and in the darkness and hiked up these sand dunes, which is seriously hard work.
Yes.
And I wanted to capture this scene with untouched by human intervention, and was working away and thought I'd got the picture nicely nailed as this wonderful side lighting painted the scene. And Wendy was beside me and she kept saying, you know, I want to run into the picture. And I said, just hold on, let me get it first. And then I said, okay, off you go. And as she started to walk into the frame, I thought, do you know, I think this is far, far better with her in it than without. And so I got her to stop at that key point.
Yes.
And I think it works with that figure in there because it gives the whole picture a sense of scale.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's a picture also that means a lot to us because with Wendy in there, it's sort of a symbol of, you know, our decades of travel, world travel together, you know.
Because she's an important part of your photography world, isn't she? And she accompanies you on a lot of your trips. And
that's right. Yeah, we're a team, and we've had some fantastic adventures together. Yeah. And this picture kind of symbolises that, really.
Yeah, yeah. And then in this sort of light, obviously, it's quite harsh, so to control it, presumably you would have needed some kind of grad in the sky, would you?
Yeah, it's really simple picture. All the best pictures are the simplest pictures, really. So I've got a grad here. I think I'm going from memory here, you know, because this was back in the film era. I'm pretty sure it was a 0.9 soft grad on here, just to hold back the sky there, really.
Yeah.
But I think what appeals to me also about this picture is the simplicity, not just of the composition, but colour-wise. There's just 2 colours in this picture, the warmth in the sand and the blue in the sky.
And so this is obviously shot on the panoramic format, which is something you're known for.
I think it replicates in many ways the way we look at landscapes. And you've got a wide view horizontally, but a relatively standard perspective vertically. So you've got this lovely width, but this nice balance between foreground and background. Nowadays it's a difficult format as well because it just doesn't fit the way we look at pictures so often, you know. They need to be printed big.
They do, definitely.
As have we got here? So this one lives on our kitchen wall.
This next shot, I believe, was taken in Burma, and I think it's quite interesting because it shows the value of shooting right up to the last minute, doesn't it?
That's right. It was the last day of a trip which had lasted a month, and we were flying out that afternoon. So I decided to go back to this temple in Yangon. But I was drawn by this lovely patterning in the tiling there, and of course the golden spires beyond, and I thought, well, let's set up a composition here, really quite meticulously composed. I used a tilt and shift lens, 17mm tilt and shift lens, to make sure that all my verticals were absolutely perpendicular. It's quite an architectural picture. And then I saw this nun approaching, and she walked right past me. I hit the cable release as she hit her mark.
Yes.
And I thought, yes, I was really pleased, because again, we've got this lovely color contrast between the warmth of her robes and the really cool blue light there on the tiling. And she even had the umbrella. Just everything seemed right.
Exactly, yes.
I think this picture really stands as a testament to how luck is important in all our photographies.
Absolutely.
I got lucky that morning because she came along.
Yeah.
And as she walked past, and as I pressed the shutter, after I scrolled through the pictures thinking, yeah, I think that worked, I got really lucky. And then I didn't realize quite how decisive a moment that was until I saw that bird up there in the frame. Yeah. And so, sure, that was double luck that morning. But, you get lucky if you're in the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
And I was there when the light was right. I was ready and waiting, and it worked for me that morning. In truth, really, for every session like this, only, maybe 1 in 4 really comes off as the way I want it. And when I go all the way to Burma, I don't want to be coming back with hundreds or thousands of pictures. It's all about quality over quantity. From a trip like this, I'm going to look at a collection of maybe 10 images, which I think are really strong enough to have warranted the trip.
So similarly to the previous picture, you're shooting in quite harsh light that changes rapidly, so presumably you would have used a filter to control that. Yeah,
indeed. We've got quite a contrast problem here. The sunlight on the temples there, and my foreground in shadow. So it's a classic case of using a grad to tame that contrast. I'm using a 0.9 ND grad soft because I had to be very careful that you don't see any visible transition here on the white spires there. And I'm pegging my exposure for the brightest highlight. Essentially, I'm trying to give that precious raw image, I'm trying to capture as much tonal and color information as I can.
Yeah.
And then once the detail's then there, I can then fine tune the brightness of my foreground and the contrast. But it's very important to me that it is one capture of one decisive moment. This shot is taken in Canada, in Yoho National Park in British Columbia, an absolutely beautiful part of the world. But even Yoho National Park is this huge area. And when you're looking at doing a trip to Canada, it's almost intimidating.
Yeah, because it's so vast, isn't it?
Exactly. It's the second largest country in the world. Where do you start? It's an absolute paradise for landscape photographers, but at the same time, it's really difficult to know where to go. And many people make the mistake of trying to bite off more than they can chew, trying to see it all. So with this trip, we stayed here on this beautiful glacial lake called Emerald Lake and stayed there for a week and just spent that whole week investigating the area around the lake and in the surrounding mountains, hiking the area and going back and shooting it and really working that immediate environment. And I just go back 3, 4, 5 mornings in a row to the same place, working the same location until I felt that I'd done it justice.
And I can see why this composition appealed to you, because this V shape created by the tree trunks is quite interesting, the way it leads you into the mountains.
Yeah. Again, we've got strong foreground interest, but I'm really careful with my compositions that you can almost get seduced by the impact of the foreground. But these mountains, the Presidential Range, they're big, and I want to show them as being big mountains. So if I go too wide, those mountains will look about as impressive as the Mendips,
Yeah.
you know. So nothing against the Mendips, but you know, we're here in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
So essentially, I'm always looking at that relationship between foreground and background. So by picking a focal length, an angle of view that was moderate enough to include my foreground interest, retaining the impact of those big mountains in the distance was crucial.
Yeah. And in terms of filters, what would you have used on a scene like this?
Well, with reflections, you can get this perfect balance between top and bottom by using a 0.6 ND. And so I've used a 0.6 ND grad hard laid along the edge of the water there. And in fact, because the glacial waters of this lake are so blue because of the sediment, the glacial sediment in suspension there, that it looks quite light there, but we've got this lovely balance between top and bottom there. With using grads, you've got to be really careful. If you use too much of a grad and you get the top looking darker than the reflections, then that's clearly going to look unrealistic and jar the eye.
Yeah, you're going to lose the balance, all the balance of the image that you've worked so hard to create. It's been great to talk to you, David, and learn a bit more about these 3 pictures, so thank you very much.
Oh, no, it's been my pleasure, Elsa. Thank you.